Alright mate, how you doing? Welcome back to another episode of IMO. In this episode, we are reacting to my World Cup predictions for World Cup 2018. I've just got back from Russia. It's my first video since I got back in England, back in the normal setup. The question is, before I left for Russia and I made my World Cup predictions, how many of them were accurate and how many of them were awful? Let's find out. Okay, so in this video, we're going to look at who I thought was going to win the World Cup, who you guys thought was going to win it, who I thought was going to get various individual awards. We'll also break it down and see how close I was to getting the group stages right and things like that as well. Before we crack on though, I want to tell you about Google Assistant. I was using Google Assistant a lot in Russia to help me get by, whether it was ordering food, ordering taxis, talking to locals that didn't speak English, and a lot of people don't speak English in Russia. Google Assistant was vital. It helped me a lot. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you some of the things that Google Assistant helped me with. And I'm going to show you some of the ways I'll still use it going forward. If you want to get the Google Assistant app, check out the link in the description and stay tuned to find out how your life can be made easier by using the completely free app to make Google do it. But for now, let's crack on. Okay guys, so we can start with the big ones. Obviously, I predicted who was going to win the whole thing. You guys also predicted it, as did FIFA 18. We also did a simulation to see who they thought was going to win the World Cup in Russia. And we all went with different teams. But most importantly, I got it right. I predicted France to win the World Cup. And of course, as you know, France won the World Cup final. You guys went with Brazil. They ended up getting knocked out in the quarterfinals. I'd say that's not great from you. I'm sorry. And that's you as a whole. I'm sure some of you watching are going, I didn't think Brazil would win. The majority of you thought it was going to be Brazil. So it shows you the wisdom of the masses isn't always that wise. And FIFA 18, they went with Germany. I mean, what does FIFA 18 know? Germany didn't get out the group stages. So I'm pretty happy with that one. I'm pretty proud of it. I actually predicted France to win the Euros 2 years ago, and I got that wrong. They obviously lost the final to Portugal, but again, I was close. I picked the finalists. So last two big international tournaments, I'm on pretty good form. In fact, that form would suggest that when it comes to Euro 2020 or World Cup 2022, hopefully I should at least be able to predict a finalist, because I've proved that over the last two tournaments. I also predicted player of the tournament and top goal scorer. Now, I went with Antoine Griezmann for both of these. The logic to that was, if I believed France were going to win the World Cup, who did I think was going to get them there? Who do I think was going to play the best? I thought Griezmann would be a huge part of the French attack, which I think he was. And I thought if he's going to get the most goals, he'll probably get player of the tournament as well, especially if France win it. So I went with like an all-French trifecta of France, Griezmann, Griezmann. Now, I didn't get either of these right, but I wasn't far off. Griezmann was joint second in terms of the top goal scorer. Griezmann was joint with Lukaku. They both got 4 goals. Harry Kane, though, as we know, won. He got 6 goals for England. There's a little bit of controversy about this. He was even getting booed when it was announced in the stadium at the final, which I thought was crazy. Check out my vlog from the final here if you haven't watched it already. But in terms of my prediction, I wasn't far off. I thought Griezmann would get the golden boot. He came joint second. That's pretty much as well as I can do without getting it perfect. Did I think Harry Kane would do it? To be honest, I didn't think he would. And the goals he scored is getting a little bit of stick for them, but he didn't miss any of his penalties. He scored 3 of them, but some people like Ronaldo and Messi both missed penalties at the World Cup this year. He scored his penalty in the shootout as well. That doesn't count towards it, but it shows you his quality at penalties. And the rest of his goals, yeah, they weren't wonder goals, but you have to be there. Gary Lineker scored a lot of goals at World Cups. In fact, he's still our leading goal scorer at World Cups from England. And none of his were beauties. Miroslav Klose scored the most goals of anyone in World Cup history. And none of his goals were the kind that you were going to tell your grandkids about, but he scored them. Harry Kane can actually score very good goals normally in the Premier League. He didn't do that this World Cup, but he got golden boot. We should be proud of him. If I could pick anyone to win it, it would have been him before the tournament, but I went with my head. I went with Griezmann. I wasn't far off. And Griezmann was obviously level with the likes of Lukaku, Mbappe, Cheryshev and Cristiano Ronaldo. All got 4 goals each. And in terms of player of the tournament, or the golden ball as it's called, I went with Griezmann again. He was officially given the 3rd place bronze medal, if you like, for the golden ball by FIFA. Eden Hazard was 2nd. Luka Modric was 1st. Didn't see that coming. I rated Luka Modric, but I don't think any of us thought Croatia were going to have the tournament they had, and he was at the heart of that. So well deserved. I think a good decision to give him the award, but I went with Griezmann. But again, I'm not disappointed with my prediction there. I think I've done okay here, guys. Surely you can cut me some slack. I have enough bad predictions all the other times. You can cut me some slack for these ones. I think I've done okay. But that's just the top line. That's just the winners and the golden boot and the golden ball. We need to talk about how the World Cup actually happened and how close I was to predicting each stage. Before we do that though, a couple of things I didn't predict, and I will predict them for the future tournaments. I've just forgotten this one, quite frankly, is the Golden Glove Award, which goes to the best keeper of the tournament, and the young player of the tournament. Now, if I'd been going for a Golden Glove, being realistic, I probably would have gone with Hugo Lloris, because I was predicting this kind of French domination, or I think I might have gone with David De Gea, to be honest. Courtois won it. It's always a Belgian. It's what they do. But I didn't predict that, so it doesn't count as an official prediction reaction. And when it comes to the Young Player of the World Cup award, well, let's use Google Assistant to find out who won that. Okay, Google, who won the Young Player award at the FIFA 18 World Cup?
Here's a summary from The Independent. Kylian Mbappe has won the FIFA Young Player Award for his performances at the 2018 World Cup.
That is correct. Kylian Mbappe was the young player of the World Cup. Thank you, Google. Now, I think this was a good decision, okay? I didn't predict it. If I had before the tournament, Mbappe would have definitely been on my list. One of the best young players in the world. He's one of only 2 teenagers ever to have scored at a World Cup final. The other one was Pele. So I can't say for sure if I would have predicted him correct, but if you look at my general French theme of my predictions, I think there's a chance I would have gone with Mbappe. Either way, let's get into more the nitty-gritty details of the World Cup. How did I do at the group stage section? Starting off with Group A, what did I think would happen here? So I'm going to go Uruguay to win the group, and second place is between Egypt and Russia. I'm going to go Russia, but only because they're the hosts. Only because they're the hosts. Okay, there you go. I got Group A bang on. I said Uruguay to win. They did. I said Russia to finish second. They did. Happy with that. Let's take a look at Group B. Right, Group B now. I don't think Portugal will beat Spain. I could be wrong. They could definitely do it because they won the Euros, but I'm going to go Spain to finish first, Portugal to finish second. Okay, I'm on a pretty good run. 2 groups in, not necessarily the hardest groups to predict, but I got them both exactly right in terms of first and second place. Let's go to Group C. Okay, Group C. France are going to get first place. They've got a decent draw there, decent group. Whilst I feel Peru could be capable of a little shock result here, I'm going to err on the side of caution, and I'm going to go Denmark. I might regret that. Guys, we're 3 groups in and I'm 100% right. Am I going to keep this going into Group D? Let's find out. Okay, Group D. This is a really tough group. There's no real group of death this year, but this is probably the closest. Most people will be tipping Argentina to win the group, and I think they probably will. Although I feel like Croatia could win it, you know. Hang on. Did I tip Croatia early doors? Let's go Argentina to win the group. The safe bet is Croatia, although I think Iceland are capable of an upset in that group. Okay, Group D. On the plus side, I got both the teams who got out the group correct. I just got them in the wrong order. Croatia won the group. I had them finishing second, but I also had Argentina to come out. So far, halfway through the group stage, I'm doing pretty well, I think you'll agree. Group E, let's go Brazil and Serbia on this one. I don't think Switzerland are going to make it out. I don't think Costa Rica will either. Okay, Group E, we've got my first incorrect team. I said Serbia were going to get out in second with Brazil first. Brazil did finish first in Group E, but Switzerland, of course, got out. So my first outright error, incorrect prediction. Got to go Germany to win the group. I like Mexico, I like Hernandez, I like Lozano as well. Sweden have not got Zlatan anymore. That's actually helped a lot of their players come out the shell a little bit more. I'm going Mexico to finish second. Okay, Group F is where it starts to go a little bit wrong. Now listen, there's very, very few people that accurately predicted Germany to get grouped, let alone them to finish bottom of their group, okay? I was wrong with this one. I hold my hands up. Maybe one thing I've learned and looking at the stats is that the reigning champs never tend to do very well. So who knows? Maybe in 2022, I won't be predicting France to do particularly well. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. The point is, I got this group wrong. I got Mexico to come in second. That was correct. But I didn't think Sweden would win the group. No one thought that, surely, apart from the Swedes out there. Well done to Sweden for doing so. Germany surprised us all in this one. Group G then is England's group. Now, being realistic about this one, I think England could get results against Panama and Tunisia. Got a feeling Belgium might get better results. I actually think Belgium-England's going to be a draw, but I'm going to go Belgium to win the group and England to come out in second. Group G, England's group. I got this one bang right. I had Belgium to win the group, England to finish second. I'm happy. I smashed that one. Wasn't the hardest to predict with Tunisia and Panama in there. Weaker teams, but I got it right. Group H. This is one of the best groups, I think, because there's no real standout teams. Japan probably on paper the weakest team. I'm going to go Colombia to win. I'm going to go Poland to finish second, but I think Senegal could do it. Okay, for the final group, there is another error in there. I had Colombia correctly to win the group, just about, but I didn't think about Japan. I just got back from Japan. Why didn't I think about Japan? I thought Poland were going to come second. They were quite disappointing in the tournament, to be honest. And it was Japan who snuck through. So another error there. In general, though, I think I did pretty well in the group stage. I'm pretty happy. I got 13 of the 16 teams that got out of the group stages correct. A couple of them are in wrong positions. But 11 of those 16 teams I got in the exact right spot they finished in the group stage. I'm pretty happy with that. 13 I correctly predicted to get out the groups. 11 of them I got perfect. Now, as we go into the knockout stages, because my predictions are obviously not completely the same as real life, it means my teams are playing different teams to who they actually played. So rather than focus on the individual matchups, we'll focus on how many I got through each round to the next round, if that makes sense. So of the 8 matchups you can see that I predicted would happen and the 8 matchups that actually did happen, only 4 of them actually happened and I got 3 of those right. The only game that actually happened that I predicted would happen that I got wrong was Spain-Russia. I went for Spain to win that one and we all know Russia won on penalties. I was there. It was crazy. But the other 3 that actually happened, I got right. For example, I predicted Uruguay to beat Portugal. I'm going to shock the system a little bit here. I'm going to go Uruguay to win that game and knock Portugal out. I predicted Brazil to beat Mexico. Brazil-Mexico. Again, I'm going to go Brazil for this one. Sorry, Mexico. And I predicted England to beat Colombia. Again, I was there for that. It was mental. Penalties. Why aren't we talking about that more? It's crazy. This is a really good game. Colombia definitely capable of beating us, but I think we are going to squeeze through in that one. However, when we progress into the quarterfinals, the 8 teams that made it there, I got 5 of those teams correct. 3 of them were wrong. I thought Argentina were going to get into the quarterfinals. They didn't. I thought Germany were going to make it to the quarterfinals. We already know they didn't get out the group. And I thought Spain were going to make it. And I don't mind predicting that one because I don't think many people thought Russia were going to beat Spain. But they did. So I got that one wrong too. Let's move into the quarterfinals. So into the quarterfinals, I had 2 fixtures exactly right. I had Uruguay to play France. Uruguay versus France. I'm going to go France to win that. And I had Belgium to play Brazil. Brazil, Belgium. I'm going to go Brazil. I think Belgium are going to miss out. Now, I accurately predicted France to beat Uruguay. Very happy with that. But I did think Brazil were going to beat Belgium. I got that one wrong because we all know Belgium actually did beat Brazil. And there was 2 fixtures that just didn't happen in there. I had Germany to play England and had Spain to play Argentina. I went with Spain to beat Argentina and Germany to beat England, but none of those teams had already got to this stage. So by the time we got through to the semis, I only accurately predicted one of the teams that would get there, and that was France. This just shows you how well the likes of Belgium, but particularly Croatia and England did, because I didn't have any of them get into the semi-finals. I had England and Belgium to get to the quarterfinals. That's where I thought they were going to go out. So I was only 1 round wrong with England. But Croatia I had going out in the last 16. So they really surprised people. In many ways, if you're talking about overachievement based on the population of your country and what people expect of you, Croatia were probably the best team in the tournament in terms of overachievement. So anyway, moving into the semis, I had 1 team right. And in the semis, I had France to play Brazil and I had Germany to play Spain. Now, I predicted France to beat Brazil. This fixture didn't happen, but I was right in the sense that I predicted France to get to the final. Semi-final 1 is France versus Brazil. Honestly, this is so tough. I am going to go France to win just because I feel like they lost the Euros final against Portugal. They should have probably won that. And I think they've got a really talented group of young players. I'm going to go France to beat Brazil, but the rest are all wrong because none of them got this far. So I only got one of the 2 semis right, but we know what happens here. France gets to the final versus Croatia. I predicted France to win. I thought they're going to be beating Germany in the final, and I'm going to tip France to win the whole thing. Yes, France are the winners of the World Cup according to my prediction. Overall, I achieved my goal of accurately predicting the World Cup winner, and there was no way I was going to get all the right teams along the way and completely predict the ladder. If I got all that stuff completely right, I'd be some kind of wizard. Am I happy with my predictions? Ultimately, yes, I'm happy because I got the right team to win. And the people that I predicted to do well that didn't, the likes of Germany and Spain, not many people saw that coming. Perhaps we should have, but most people didn't. So I'm not too worried about my predictions. I think I've done an okay job. Let me know in the comments below if you think I did well. I have actually picked my team of the tournament as well, which I'll show you shortly. But before that, I'm going to quickly show you some of the cool ways Google Assistant can help your life. For example, if like me, you're still feeling the post-World Cup blues, you're still walking around with your England top on and you're feeling really patriotic, you want to relive the World Cup, you can try this. Okay, Google, please play the UK national anthem.
Playing on YouTube.
Playing on YouTube. Let's go. Let's get back in that moment. Here we go. Oh, I remember being in Russia. Go Queen! God save the Queen! That's enough. Unfortunately, Google Assistant can't make you sing well. That's on you. But if that's not enough, and instead you're thinking about the 2022 World Cup now, and you're thinking about England's next chances, we can try this. Okay, Google, how many days are there until the 2022 World Cup in Qatar?
2022 FIFA World Cup will be in 1,587 days.
1,587 days. Not long then. And I'm not going to lie, I'm buzzing to be back in England, but I was quite enjoying some of the Russian culture. I'm wondering if I can find any of it here. Okay, Google, find me a Russian restaurant in London.
I found a few places.
That was rapid. 3 Russian restaurants. This one's got 4.3 out of 5. What do you reckon? Mary Vanna. I might go there tonight. Alex, you want to go Mary Vanna? Basically, guys, what I'm trying to say is Google Assistant is double decent. You can do anything. I mean, in Russia, I was using it to help translate what I was saying. I was using it for currency conversion. Okay, Google, how many Russian rubles are there to the pound?
1 British pound equals 82.31 Russian rubles.
It's good to know. It sorts you out. You can use it for anything. It's available on Android and on iPhone. It's completely free. There's a link in the description to download it. Anything you want, you can make Google do it. And now to finish the video, I'm going to reveal my official World Cup team of the tournament. This was hard, guys. This was really hard. And looking back at it now, I've only gone with 3 French players, okay? And as the champions, you could easily just fill the team with French players. I mean, people like Pogba and Varane and Kante, particularly, are really unlucky not to be in this team. And I know they're in a lot of people's teams, and I respect that decision. My thought process in making this team was more about who are the people that have helped elevate their nation's chances or really standing out as unbelievable players from their country? Because usually when a team like France wins a World Cup in a pretty dominant fashion, you could just give 7 or 8 of the spots in the World Cup 11 to France, easily. But I've tried not to do that. I've gone with people that really stood out in my mind and I think had a good World Cup, even if it wasn't a particularly long World Cup. And I've gone with Pickford in goal. Now, Courtois got the Golden Glove. He could definitely be the goalkeeper in this team. I went with Pickford. Perhaps I'm being a little bit patriotic and biased here. I think in the rest of my team, you'll see that I haven't been that with England dominance, but I went with Pickford because I just think without Pickford, England wouldn't have won their first ever penalty shootout at a World Cup. And he kept us in so many games. And yes, Courtois did the same for Belgium, particularly against Brazil. But he did concede a couple against Japan. And look, I'm not trying to make Courtois the bad guy here. He was fantastic. He's a better keeper than Pickford, and he might have even done things that Pickford couldn't do. But for me, Pickford was huge. And I've gone with him in goal. In defence, I've gone with Pavard and Trippier. There's a few other full-backs, and I know they're both right-backs, and playing Trippier technically left-back in this team. That doesn't really matter in this team. It's not so much about them playing in the right positions. I thought Trippier was the best right back at the tournament. And the goal that Pavard scored for France, which I've already given my vote for goal of the tournament, and the fact that he played in the World Cup winning team, I've gone with Pavard as the other fullback. In centre-back, I've gone with Godin from Uruguay, and I've gone with Migne from Colombia. Migne single-handedly kept his team in the World Cup with some crucial goals. 3 goals from centre-back. And when I got to see him up close in the game that we actually won on penalties, England, but Migne was an absolute beast. He needs to be playing more for Barcelona or get a transfer, because I haven't seen a centre-back performance that dominant in ages. I could have had Harry Maguire in there. He was fantastic as well. He just misses out, as does John Stones. Varane is the biggest crime in terms of player I haven't included. I'm sure a lot of you are going to give me stick in the comments, but I went with the boys, Godin and Migne. In midfield, I've gone with Cheryshev from Russia. For me, at moments, he just set Russia alight. Some superb moments in the group stage, and then his goal against Croatia was so good, it just really cemented his place in this team for me in the midfield. I've gone with Modric. Obvious choice, player of the tournament. I endorse that decision, and he had to be centre mid in this team. Just so good throughout. Carried Croatia on his shoulders. World class centre midfielder, and maybe even got a chance of winning the Ballon d'Or. I think if he'd won the World Cup, he'd have definitely got it. I've got a feeling it still might go to Cristiano Ronaldo though. And next to Modric, I've actually gone with Perisic. I could have gone with Pogba. I could have gone with Kante. There's loads of people I could have put in there. But Perisic not only was quality for Croatia, scoring some big goals, he also hit the post, I think, 3 times in 3 different games. So he could have easily ended up top goal scorer in this tournament. And sometimes, particularly against England, he just looked like a man possessed. I'm still surprised he hasn't had a big money move from Inter Milan. Not that Inter Milan's not a big club, it is, but there's some really big clubs I think Perisic is good enough to play for, and he's in my World Cup team of the tournament. In terms of the front three, until the final, I had it that I was going to have Harry Kane in there. Even though I knew he hadn't had an unbelievable tournament by his own standards, I felt because he was a top goal scorer, you should include the top goal scorer in your team of the tournament. But then the final convinced me otherwise. The final made me realise I have to have both Griezmann and Mbappe. Not everyone's got Griezmann in their team of the tournament. I've noticed this. Most people have gone with Mbappe. Some people have gone with Kane. Some people have gone with Lukaku. For me, Griezmann was crucial to the French success. He played a much more mature role in the team than he did, say, 2 years ago at the Euros, when he scored the most goals in the tournament, but France ultimately didn't win. I think he was less selfish in this tournament. Yes, he was taking penalties, but he was facilitating as much as he was the end result of a move. He was helping the likes of Mbappe get involved as well. I think Griezmann doesn't get the credit he deserves for the job he did for France. But Mbappe, of course, was electric, dynamite. Looks like he's going to win a Ballon d'Or one day for sure. To be doing what he's doing at his age is simply phenomenal. He had to be in my team in the tournament. And finally, I went with Eden Hazard, who was superb. I can't quite put my finger on it why Belgium didn't go further based on how they performed in this tournament. At times, they looked unplayable. I do think their midfield players kind of let them down a little bit at times. I'm not talking about De Bruyne or Hazard. I'm talking about the fact that they were relying on players like Carrasco, Fellaini, Chadli, Witsel, who I rate all of them as players, but let's face it, Chadli got relegated this year. Fellaini doesn't start in Man United's best team. Witsel cashed in on a move to China a while ago. He's not been playing at the highest level. And Carrasco did the same thing. They needed players that have been playing at higher levels more regularly. I think that's what ultimately cost them. But Hazard was just amazing throughout the tournament. Definitely in my team. So let me know in the comments below how you think I did with my predictions and what you think of my team in the tournament. If you want to get Google Assistant, download it from the link in the description. I highly recommend it. Subscribe to the channel for more videos. Drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. And I'll see you on another one soon. Until then, don't go changing.